The cover-up of the Jeffrey Epstein situation continues. This administration has added someone else to be a part of the FBI to help the cover-up.
The Trump administration has announced a new co-deputy director to help lead the FBI. Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey will serve alongside the current deputy director, Dan Bongino. Back in 2024, Bailey asked the Supreme Court to step in blocking sentencing during New York's criminal case against Trump.
Bongino, while he was a former Secret Service officer turned media personality, has never ran an organization this large and was never an FBI officer or agent. Neither was Mr. Bailey. Bailey is an Army veteran who was a prosecutor in Missouri, obviously then got elected to the state's highest prosecutor office. But you have to remember that he does not have this experience either.
The plan is to replace one idiot with another. I'm sorry, it's the co-deputy director of the FBI. His name is Andrew Bailey, and there's a little more information about how much of a loyalist this guy is.
Well, what's interesting is Andrew Bailey was actually on Donald Trump's mind during the transition team. He was originally floated as a possible contender for the attorney general spot. And so he has been a close Trump ally over the past few years. In Missouri, he sued Starbucks over its DEI policies. He's done a lot in Missouri that sort of aligns with the Trump administration policies. And so he is a more obvious choice as FBI to work for the FBI, just given his background when you compare it with Bongino.
By the way, in case you guys didn't know, I'm sure all of you do, Dan Bongino hasn't been seen or heard from since that blow up he had with Pam Bondi when he was upset about whatever it is that they found, whatever it is that they've seen, and what it is that they're attempting to continue to cover up in those Epstein files. Because in case you guys also forgot, he was one of the podcasters who always talked about, before he was in the middle of this administration, about how we need to get to the bottom of these Epstein files. And now that they've gotten to the bottom of those Epstein files, they're trying to cover it up and put them back on the bottom because they're protecting someone in the White House whose name is all over those files. So since he hasn't been seen or heard from, he must have had this one moment where he went, damn, we can't do this. Oh my God, this is horrible. Donnie, it was you. And they've been trying to shut his ass up ever since. They spoke more about why this guy hasn't been fired yet, though.
And so the open question that I've been hearing is Dan Bongino going to stay long term? I've heard some people suggest that this isn't an arrangement he's going to be interested in. Of course, he was a successful podcaster before joining the FBI. So will he return to that? Will he stay at the FBI? Nobody really knows as of now, but this is certainly an arrangement that seems to be unique.
Is there any surprise that Dan Bongino just hasn't been dismissed? Why he's still there, given the fighting with the attorney general? Or perhaps is there concern that if you let Dan Bongino go and get back into the podcasting world, that he's a liability?
Well, I think the big thing with this administration, and we've seen it, is there's a real reluctance to get rid of people, right? This administration is much more aligned internally, even with those internal fights, than Trump 1.0. I've talked to a number of administration officials and people who worked in the first Trump administration who have said, we don't want to repeat the mistakes of the first administration, which was sort of a revolving door at times and caused a lot of external unnecessary drama as they look back on it. And this time around, Donald Trump, by and large, really believes in his team. And so I think that he doesn't feel like it is necessary because he has a team who are really loyal to the president and his agenda. And you've seen that. And with Dan Bongino, it's really interesting because he really created this following for himself well before Donald Trump tapped him to be FBI director. So there is a chance if he decides to leave that he can go back to that and still have that following. I don't think that following will leave him because he leaves.
I think that correspondent's missing some serious details here as why this guy won't go yet and why they won't fire him. Yeah, you got a loyalist. Yeah, sure, he likes to keep his team together, but he still let go of the guy that was a part of the whole Signal Gate eventually, because there was enough heat on it and he could easily leave and it was kind of over. Swept him under the rug, put him in some lower level position to make sure nobody can hear from him again. Dan Bongino, as she did mention, has a podcast audience that he had before where a big part of what he talked about was the stuff that he's now very silent about. Do you remember how big Kash Patel and Dan Bongino's eyes got when they were in that interview talking about how Jeffrey Epstein, in fact, did kill himself?
People don't believe it. Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work.
He was like, I swear, I saw it. I saw it. Dan Bongino never talked that little amount ever in his life. There's only so much he wanted to say and could say. And I don't know, maybe he's watching his back. I mean, as you know, people have died around this. There's another aspect of this. There was this whole TikTok thing that they've started. The White House started a TikTok account. And this is more of the writing on the walls, the way people are responding to what it is that's happening with this cover up. Because everywhere they look, they had a lock on the bros online. They had a lock on the social media. And then those square Democrats had no idea how to respond. But again, as everyone's seeing how this is really going down, there's this guy named Billy McLaughlin, and he just he quit as the meme director of the White House since they jumped on TikTok because people won't stop talking about this. And he joined the White House as director of digital content. It was his official title. And that was following Trump's inauguration in January. He announced his departure from the role in an op-ed for Fox News. I'm not going to read you that whole op-ed because it was long and it was very glowing about all the great work that they did because they captured the hearts and minds of the people online. And I think there was a certain segment of that where they did. The only problem is now is the hearts and minds are noticing how much he's destroying the country. So while it's unclear when exactly he left the role, his LinkedIn lists him as being in the role until July. Many were quick to point out that the White House had just tried to launch this new TikTok account on the previous day before he got the hell out of there, only to receive a substantial amount of criticism and trolling from their users in response to them doing that. In this article for Fox News, he wrote that serving as director of digital content for Trump was the most meaningful and intense chapter of his entire professional life. Let me show you guys some of the intensity that he had to deal with after one day. Here's some of the direct and immediate responses that he got over on TikTok as they tried to capture the hearts and minds again of all these people. As you can see, there's some drag versions of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein at the top left. There's another one where someone pointed out another distraction for the Epsteinth time. Oh, there was that couple that was caught at that Coldplay concert, except they've been morphed into Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein being caught. Oh, there's Ivanka Trump with the red hat. My dad's on the list. There's a couple others. Trump is about to learn very quickly that TikTok hates him, someone pointed out. Vladimir Putin, who he's kowtowing to, is pointing out, again in this meme, he's on the list. So as this meme content guy is really on fire, I think all the meme folks online are figuring out what it is they really want to tell him. And once he saw it, he didn't want to do it no more. Here's the last one at the bottom right. Someone wrote, will they publish Jeffrey Epstein's files on this account? It's the first time we've had a convicted criminal of 34 crimes in the White House, by the way. And apparently he couldn't take the heat, even though he had captured the hearts and minds of everyone online. It kind of sucks when you've discovered that the destruction that you've unleashed on the country has even reached people who they thought were brainless and weren't paying attention and just want to see some funny memes from the White House of Donald Trump doing his stupid ass YMCA dance. That's what he thought it would be because it worked for him for a few months. That is until everyone discovered who these guys really are.